Hey, it is your buddy, Peace and Harmony with you here today. Much love going out to all the beautiful empowered harmonizers. And we're zooming in and focusing in a little bit more in depth on a great viewer question. And that is how to understand how the disempowering takes place in relationships. I felt that this is a good question because sometimes people are so in deep in a relationship, they're so committed to a relationship that they can't see the forest for the trees. In other words, they don't know that they're disempowered. They don't know that they're not in their right mindset. They're not in their right perspective. And their reality isn't really giving them opportunity to live up to their potential and really be fulfilled and be free and liberated to take advantage of all that life has to offer, particularly what life has to offer you. So I feel that this is a great question, is to understand how you become disempowered. For number one, I feel one of the great things is that of embarrassment, that of shaming, that of making someone feel guilty. And another viewer had asked, can you please talk about like religious standards and philosophies and how that makes one to feel guilty. So it's really kind of bottled up into the same thing, like devotionals or things that, can make you feel guilty, inhibited, fearful, and, shameful. And so this is not, this is what we call a disempowered state, particularly that of making somebody feel embarrassed. So to ridicule somebody, to humiliate them, to make them feel ashamed of who they are, what they have, something about their physicality, something about your sense of humor, constantly prodding you and provoking you into reactivity. That is a chronic tactic of manipulation and of disempowerment, especially, this is a textbook case. When you really look at narcissists, especially as you get, too close to getting a commitment out of them, when it gets, when it's time to get real, it's time to get responsible, it's time to get accountable for what you've done or what you've said, or if you've hurt each other, or they're not really sort of holding up their end of the relationship. Maybe they're flaking out, or they're starting to lie, or they're starting to cheat behind your back, or do things that are withdrawing or secretive in nature. Particularly, they'll back people down by making them embarrassed, by making fun of, by ridiculing, or using terminology that is insultory or derogatory in nature. And so it renders you going, huh? And it renders you then feeling ashamed, especially about something that you cannot control, like the size of your feet, like, the shape of your hand, etc. There are certain things that cause you to feel then a heaviness or a burden and lack of clarity, especially because you are in a relationship where you've perhaps experienced a relationship, a past, some close intimacy that it would warrant a long-term relationship. You could be a fiancé or wedded to this person, or living together, where it's required that you cooperate and that you get along. And yet, so a narcissist, in order to uphold this long-term relationship so that empowers them, it disempowers you. So they get power by disempowering you. So rather than being chivalrous, rather than doing something beneficial, rather than being supportive, rather than being nurturing, rather than being receptive, rather than listening, rather than being, cooperative and making some adjustments on their own so the relationship can actually work and you can grow together, they get their power by embarrassing another. So when you're embarrassing somebody, you're using terminology that could be derogatory, oh, you're this, oh, you're that, you're an old person, oh, you're a millennial, women are always like that, men are always like that, you shouldn't be so da-da-da-da-da, or you should, it's embarrassing, they're ridiculing you and making fun of you, especially when you are defenseless, when other, putting you in a corner, so that you can't, really stick up for yourself. Taking opportune times when you are out in public to make nasty comments, so that to really sort of square it out, you would make a scene. So, putting you in situations where it's very difficult to have a civil conversation. All these are tactics of a narcissist. So they're always going to get their power, not oftentimes by the positive, but by, being derogatory or embarrassing of another. So, shutting you down, shutting you out, bringing things up way from the past that, are really sort of when you were immature, and, as if you haven't changed in the past 10, 15, 20 years, if you haven't changed in the past 5 years, that was, and so furthermore, how do you deal with that? You have to understand how disempowering embarrassment is, but your perception is your reality. So you can either choose to fall for this tactic, or you can choose to move forward in lightness of being and a lighter etheric energy. So it is to understand that it's important for you to be mindful of individuals when they are this way and not take it at face value, not take it personally, not take the rub, not take the elbow, not take the jab, not take the kick in the gut, not take the slap in the face, that you need to kind of step away, emotionally, etherically, and proceed in lightness of being. So it's to carry forth in enlightenment and to know that this is just a tool that a narcissist or a psychopath, for that question, for that fact, someone who's malignant, that they will use to disempower you. It's to render you helpless. It's to, kick you so where, it counts, where you can't really protect yourself. It's to get in the crevices. It's to get in and put you in a corner. But oftentimes, to deal with it at the matter of hand, it would be very embarrassing. In other words, it catches you off guard. And then next thing you know, you're losing it in front of all these people. And then it's like, see, I told you you were crazy. I told you you were out of control. And then so you're then living at, a victim of your own demeanor. So you are rendered powerless. So it's very important for you to, when this occurs, or if this occurs in your mindset, to understand the dynamics that a narcissist will engage in to make themselves look good, rather than it being about something positive that they've done, that they've given. It takes you off of your focus on your requirements or your standards. In other words, I need someone who is loving, caring, kind, considerate, patient, nurturing, can see the positive in me. So rather than you living on the positive, you're living and deflected on the negative. So you're then distracted by a created flaw, so a projected flaw of, onto you. So then all you really see is your problematic ways that they have created for you, making you embarrassed, versus seeing, hey, you're not really giving me the love. You're not showing me the love. You're not giving me support. You're acting like I'm superhuman. What am I, a super perfection? Am I like a perfect model? Did they break the perfect model after they made me? What happened here? Or did they break the perfect model after they made you? No one can compare. I mean, you have to kind of understand and be prepared with these quips to understand the narcissist demeanor, is that oftentimes in order to deflect, the fact that they should be giving, kind, humble, cease their self-centered ways and their pathological lying and denial and sort of the running away aspect. And rather than, understanding that and then learning and sort of taking a hit for the team, for the relationship, that they don't oftentimes want to do that or do the work or see themselves as human. The narcissist wants to see themselves as impenetrable, that they're, impervious, that, nothing can touch them, that they're untouchable, that they're this, super rich or super this or super talented or, just narcissistic, psychopathic, that they're antisocial. So rather than taking responsibility and accountability and being giving, being on what I would call a level playing field, i.e. we're in this together. We are equals here. They're always banking on that. I am better than, superior than, more perfect, more. I, me, than you. And you are just subservient. You are my indentured, and so they'll turn things around and they'll twist things around. Oh, I bet you just want someone who controls you, so they'll deflect and make you embarrassed for what you want, rather than, no, I need someone who can be there for me, and making you embarrassed to want something healthy. So you have to be very careful and listen very carefully to these allegations and these embarrassing remarks. Insulting and derogatory, that you would want a man to be a specific way or a woman to be a specific way. And they're, making you embarrassed for wanting a good man or embarrassed for wanting a good woman in the way that you define it. And so it makes you doubt yourself and then not have that standard and not keep them accountable and responsible. So, and then it keeps you unhappy. It keeps you in an unhealthy, interfacing between, each other. And then if you stay with a narcissist, a psychopath, or someone who's controlling, you will find that you end up getting a smaller and smaller, piece of the stick. You begin to have less and less leverage. You begin to have less and less control. You begin to have more and more pain, more and more embarrassment, and more helpless. So be very careful, very aware, and very observant of this tactic in relationships, particularly those who are narcissistic and psychopathic. And before we wrap up, I just want to give a super huge shout out to those who have recently donated to the channel. Thank you so much for your contribution and support. It really, helps me to feel good with your support. So absolutely positively, if you would like to give to the channel and participate, please do donate at the PayPal Donate Now button here on the link included. I was able to figure that out. So people who had inquired that they want to donate, they couldn't find the button. So I have found a way to include it here now. So thank you so much for your support of the channel. It is greatly appreciated, and I appreciate hearing from you. So thank you so much also for your comments and your feedback on what you've experienced, because really sometimes sharing your experience with others who have experienced the same thing can help you to flesh it out and work it out. It's when you bottle it up and you're living in pain, suffering, and doubt that things just get worse. So it really is important to kind of come out of the closet emotionally when you've been in these relationships, particularly if it's that of a marriage. It becomes a lot more complicated. It becomes a lot more difficult. It becomes a lot more serious. And, oftentimes it's difficult to call, for a change or to call it quits. These are big life changes, perhaps one that you hadn't planned for. So you need to begin to get things sorted out and knowing that you have a future. Oftentimes the narcissist will kind of imprint in you that you don't have a future if you leave. In other words, you're so inherently flawed, you're just going to be walking away like a maimed puppy, that you're going to be unlovable, or no one will love you in this quote-unquote, destroyed goods or damaged goods manner. And so that will lead to the embarrassment. So don't buy their reflection or mirror of you. Don't take it as face value. What ends up happening is, this developed codependent relationship with someone who is narcissistic is to understand that then you have understood that you're mirrored then to be these damaged goods. And it makes it very difficult to leave, because then you think, well, no one will love me. No one will want me. I'm, embarrassed. I'm flawed. Especially at this time of my life. So you make all these excuses up when they are just excuses. Have some dignity, have self-respect, listen to yourself, and stop resisting the healing, because that oftentimes accentuates the suffering, is when you're resisting the truth, when you're, sort of armoring yourself up against what you need to know, the truth of the relationship. So when they say the truth will set you free, you'll literally be able to relax in a body and then be able to love and appreciate yourself and have gratitude for all that you are. And you'll be able to love yourself for who you are and where you are right now. Oftentimes it's very different and difficult because it is that which the narcissist was not able to do. They're not able to love you as who you are, where you're at now. So you need to be the one to lead the helm. You need to be the one to lead the pack. You need to embrace that leader within you that loves you for who you are, how you are right now. And then you'll find that you'll then attract others of this like mindset to your reality, so they will love you for who you are, how your humor is, how you are at your heart core, your heart center, your genuine authentic self. And then life will become so much easier when you then embrace others who love you for who you are and how you are. Really, then that's when things get good, things get fun, and you really do start fulfilling your dreams. Open up the space in your heart and in your life for that to happen now. It's your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today, and I hope that these videos do help. Please share and please subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support. Peace out. Love you.